morning. Today we are going to talk about intrinsically disordered proteins, which are IDPs. So before going deep into the topic, let me just show you some basic things. So the central dogma of biology is this: the DNA gets transcribed to RNA, the RNA gets translated to a protein. This is the central dogma. Here the DNA replicates itself and then it transcribes to an RNA, then it gets translated to a protein. So what is the structure of a protein? There are 4 structures in a protein. The primary structures includes the amino acids. There are total 20 amino acids in every human being, in any organism. And these 20 amino acids, they rearrange and they form different kinds of proteins. So this is the amino acid sequence, which is the primary structure. And the secondary structure is the alpha helix and the beta sheets, which are the amino acids which are arranged in some shape. So this is the secondary structure. And the tertiary structure is a 3D structure where it coils and then forms a structure into a quaternary structure, which is a complex protein molecule. It forms a complex protein molecule where many such tertiary structures join together and then they form a quaternary structure. This does the function. So from the amino acids to the quaternary structure is the structure of a protein. And when we talk about the structure and the disorder structure, the structured protein where the sequence is formed into a structure and this structure only forms the function. In a disordered protein, the sequence will form a disorder and that disorder only will form the function. So there are 2 types of paradigms here. I will be explaining about it. So this is a structured protein and these proteins are disordered proteins where a part of the region of the protein is disordered here. Here we can see the different regions, and this is a completely disordered protein. This is a completely structured protein, a completely disordered protein. And there are intrinsically disordered proteins, intrinsically disordered regions. So intrinsically disordered proteins are completely the protein is disordered. In the region intrinsically disordered regions, only a part of the protein is disordered, and this is a complete protein. So the intrinsically disordered proteins has many roles. As I said, when they are intrinsically disordered only, they will perform the function. Some proteins can function only when they are in the complete structure. So now when we go into and see this. So the functional aspect of genes have been attributed to RNA and proteins, which is the central dogma of molecular biology. So we know the DNA carries the genes. The genes are transferred to the other proteins through the RNA translation. Then the proteins are the ones that bring about majority of diverse cellular effector functions. The central philosophy of structural biology is a protein requires a native coded structure to perform its biological function. Here we see the amino acids forming the alpha and beta, alpha helix and beta sheets, and then they form the tertiary and the quaternary structures. So many proteins and protein segments cannot attain a single stable 3-dimensional structure under physiological conditions. Instead, they adopt multiple interconvening conformational states. Conformation is the shape they form. Such intrinsically disordered proteins or protein segments are highly abundant across proteomes and are involved in various effector functions. So there are 2 paradigms concerning the structure and function of the proteins which has evolved, which is the structure function paradigm and the disorder function paradigm, which I have already mentioned. So the 3-dimensional native structure under physiological conditions is the prerequisite for a protein to function. Here in the disordered form, there is the proteins that perform cellular function without attaining stable 3-dimensional structure under physiological conditions. All these are under physiological conditions. So the naturally occurring biologically active proteins that appear to possess a high degree of conformational flexibility have been referred to as intrinsically disordered proteins. So it will be like this. So these regions are intrinsically disordered and this is a point protein. Instead of the whole protein, only some regions in the protein are disordered, that are called as the intrinsically disordered regions. So here we see the complete disordered protein and then intrinsically disordered regions and the structured proteins. So what is intrinsic protein disorder? Intrinsic protein disorder defines the biologically active proteins or protein segments that exist as an ensemble of unfolded, collapsed, extended or non-globular conformations at the secondary or tertiary structure level. So when we saw the structure levels in the protein, we saw the secondary, in the secondary or the tertiary structure level that form, these are the changes which happen in these intrinsically disordered proteins. So what are the structural aspects of the intrinsically disordered proteins? The disordered regions fail to attain a stable three-dimensional native structure under physiological conditions. Stable, so they keep on changing their 3D conformation. So the IDPs and IDRs are enriched with uncharged and polar amino acids, lacks bulky hydrophobic residues and exist as dynamic heterogeneous ensembles of collapsed or extended structures. The functional classification of IDPs, we have disordered chaperones, modification sites and entropy changes. So the disordered chaperones are nothing but the proteins that help RNAs and other protein molecules to attain their functional folded state known as the chaperones. And about half of the RNA chaperone sequences and one-third of the protein chaperones are disordered in nature in the IDPs. And then what are the modification sites? The composition of membranes and the disorderness of IDP is fine-tuned the signaling pathways in the modification site. And the entropy chains are flexible linkers and spacers. There are flexible linkers and spacers. These flexible linkers regulate the relative movement of domains positioned at the two ends of the linkers, whereas the spacers specify the intermediate distances. And the functional elements of an intrinsically disordered protein will be the short linear motifs, molecular recognition features and intrinsically disordered domains. The sequence characteristics of intrinsically disordered proteins. So I said there are amino acid sequence. How will that amino acid sequence be? The amino acid sequence composition determines whether a protein would be an ordered protein with a stable folded 3D structure or an unfolded intrinsically disordered protein. And the residues such as, I said there are 20 amino acids which get arranged out accordingly for a particular protein. So here the amino acids as I shown here, the alanine, arginine, glycine, glutamine, glutamic acid, lysine, proline and serine. These are seen mostly in the IDPs and IDRs. So these are the sequence characteristics of a intrinsically disordered protein. So now that we know the intrinsically disordered proteins are there, proteins which do not have a stable structure, how do we identify that? The experimental approach for assessing the intrinsic protein disorder, there are two methods, which is the direct and the indirect methods. In the direct method, it provides both a steady state and dynamic structural information on the IDPs or IDRs at the residue level. So the methods are X-ray crystallography, circular dichroism, which is a spectroscopic method, small angle X-ray scattering, nuclear magnetic resonance and the cryo-electron microscopy. So these are the direct methods. What are the indirect methods? They are unusual amino acid composition and lack of compact hydrophobic core disordered proteins are evident during purification process. So during the purification process we can find which is by STS page, mass spectrometry, size exclusion chromatography and gen filtration. So these are the methods which are used to identify the proteins. And there are some computational tools for disorder prediction. Here they use propensity-based predictors which depends on some essential physical or chemical characteristics of residues or on prior knowledge of the biological background of the intrinsic protein. So when we have a prior knowledge of these proteins, we can compare and study these. And there are machine learning algorithms-based predictors, and this class of advanced predictors rely on algorithms trained on the datasets of experimentally characterized disordered proteins and can differentiate disorder and order encoding sequences. So they experimentally create a disordered protein and then compare with the ordered one. And there is another method where inter-residue contact-based predictors are used, where the predictors based on the idea that the IDPs and IDRs are disordered because they cannot make enough inter-residue contacts required to compensate for the loss of configurational entropy during the folding are grouped together as the inter-residue contact-based predictors. So this mechanism where the inter-residue contact is lost, that proteins are classified in this method. So how did the IDPs and IDRs evolve? The evolution of proteins involves changes in the form of insertions, deletions or substitutions in their amino acid sequences. Over time, such changes can accumulate in the proteins, giving rise to taxonomic classes having substantial differences in their amino acid compositions. So proteins are generally considered as the chemical fingerprints of evolutionary history as they manifest the underlying genetic changes as amino acid sequences. As we described, from the DNA only the proteins are getting translated. So the genetic information is transferred through a protein and hence they are the chemical fingerprints of evolution. So the evolution of intrinsic disorder exhibits a wavy pattern. Several mechanisms such as de novo generation, horizontal gene transfer, and lateral gene transfers can give rise to genes that encode IDPs. Here we can see how they study the different types of gene or the amino acid sequence which are intrinsically disordered. And identifying the evolutionary and functional features of IDPs has become a computational challenge, as most of the sequence analysis tools and parameter optimization procedures are aimed at ordered or structural regions of proteins. So we have all the databases which has the ordered proteins. So identifying the evolutionary and functional features of IDPs and IDRs are a little difficult. So that was about the evolution of IDPs. Now what are the IDPs and IDRs doing in diseases? Several studies have shown that the role of IDPs and IDRs in different human disorders including diabetes, cancer, amyloidosis, neurodegenerative diseases and cardiovascular diseases. So some well-studied examples of IDPs associated with human diseases are P53, we know this, MDM2, PTN, CMYC we know, BRCA1, HPV oncoproteins, BCL2, all these are known IDPs. And the deposition of alpha-synuclein, tau and amyloid beta proteins leads to Alzheimer's disease. So in Alzheimer's disease, these proteins get deposited. And in Parkinson's disease, alpha-synuclein is deposited. Aggregates of PRPSC, which I will talk later, will cause the prion disease. And the expansion of the CAG triplet repeats in disease genes, which introduces disorder, results in the family of molecule disease such as Kennedy's disease and Huntington's disease. And various hypotheses proposed to explain the molecular mechanisms of pathogenesis of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease and suggested that need for development of new techniques through the integration of quantum and statistical methods, thermodynamics, bioinformatics and machine learning approaches, which in turn might lead to development of new experimental approaches in these diseases. So these are the various diseases which are involved and the IDPs which are involved in that. Can these IDPs used as a drug target? So increasing evidence of their involvement in molecular functions complementing globular domains, essential biological processes, protein-nucleic acid interactions, protein-protein interactions and diseases, IDRs and IDPs have emerged as some of the prime targets for drug discovery or repurposing. So however, IDP characteristics such as lack of stable 3D structure, very high flexibility, conformation to ensembles, susceptibility to proteolytic cleavage and protein aggregation limit the application of most established experimental assays and computational methods that would otherwise work for ordered proteins. Therefore, IDP-specific drug screening or development is mainly a trade-off between binding affinity. So, trade-off in the sense it has to be compromised for the binding affinity or specificity and alteration in the function of disordered proteins with other features such as solubility, crowding, efflux, metabolism, which is plays a potentially relevant role. So, what does the intrinsically disordered protein play a role in mineral metabolism? So, IDPs are flexible proteins without a fixed structure, as I said, making them ideal for dynamic functions in mineral metabolism. In mineral metabolism, we need a dynamic function because we need the deposition and resorption to happen whenever it is needed. So they bind calcium and phosphate ions, controlling the initiation, growth and shape of mineral crystals like hydroxyapatite in bone and leaf, which is rich in acidic and phosphorylated residues. IDPs act as ion deservation and help organize crystal structures. They interact with other matrix proteins like collagen, adapting to various partners due to their flexibility, and they play a major role in promoting mineralization and preventing unwanted calcifications. We know the amyloidogenic are all the examples of that. So their disordered nature is essential for precision, regulation and adaptability of the mineral formation. So to conclude, over the past 2 decades, the research field of protein disorder has witnessed a revolution with respect to the understanding of various aspects of IDPs such as sequence abundance, structure, function, regulation, etc. So the unifying principle of protein structure function relationship has to be studied more fully.